Cancelled.
Schweezy.
Is it finally time for us to make fun of megachurches? I mean, we do that every week on this show. But today I wanted to talk about the HBO hit TV show, The Righteous Gemstones, starring, Danny McBride, Edie Patterson, Adam Devine, and most importantly of all, John Goodman. One fun thing about John Goodman is I took a class, it was taught by a theater teacher when I was in college, and he went to Missouri State University, John Goodman, and my teacher went there too, and they went apparently at the same time. And she always talked about how, like, John Goodman could, like, he just, like, could walk into a scene and, like, he just believed he was that character. Like, he was that good. He's pretty much a legend. We already know he's a legend. You know, we already know he's great and a legend and awesome. But, yeah, I want to talk about The Righteous Gemstones. If you didn't know what The Righteous Gemstones is, it's on HBO. It's an HBO show. You can watch it on Max, obviously. Formerly HBO Max, but now it's just Max because God hates HBO or something because they made this show. But basically, The Righteous Gemstone depicts Eli Gemstone. That's John Goodman. He is a mega pastor. He's been doing televangelism and doing mega churches like since he was, since he became a pastor. That was always his goal, to be rich and make money and put on a spectacle. Doing the whole church thing, and then his wife, played by Jennifer Nettles of Sugarland, she's dead in the show, but you see she comes back a lot in flashbacks. She was like a professional singer, and I think she had her big hit, like Misbehaving. You were at the porch and I was by the river, misbehaving. Oh, and then let's not forget Baby Billy Freeman. Played by Walton Goggins, a man who steals every single scene he has ever been in any movie ever. People don't think Ant-Man and the Wasp is that fun of a movie, but Walton Goggins was in it. And one thing about Walton Goggins is he was perfect in that movie. And people are still talking about that movie, about who was this secret buyer that he was working for? He was buying, who is he working for the entire time? And he's still alive in the MCU. I think they just went to jail or some shit like that. But yeah, no, so they're basically the old generation, and now they had kids, and now their kids are all working at the church. Judy is the middle child, and then Jesse, Danny McBride, he's the head, and then Kelvin, he's the baby of the family. He started off when he was a very young boy. He was a baby. He was kind of the baby of the family. So Jesse is an associate pastor who preaches sometime. I think by season 3 becomes the somewhat head pastor, or they're all three running equally together, run the church. And then Judy, I think she learns she can sing, or somehow can make money singing in the show. And Kelvin is the youth pastor. And by the way, Adam Devine playing Kelvin is just the perfect Carl Lentz impersonation. I think they were trying to they based a lot of these characters off of real life people. Stephen Furtick, I think, is one. I think that he might be the main one, since he's mainly out of South Carolina, the show's kind of based out of. And then I don't know where I was going with this. Yeah, so Stephen Furtick. I think Joel Osteen gets in there. They do some Texas stuff, and they get Texas in there. I'm just thinking about all the televangelists. I think they were based off of, who did Tammy Faye and John Baker, or whatever his last name was, or something at the time. I think it was John Baker. Yeah, they had that. There's a movie also on Max about them. They were kind of the forefronts of televangelism, and then probably the dude who has Liberty University and his dad or whatever. But yeah, it's a funny take on the show, on Christianity and everything there, because with it, they just talk about how spoiled these kids are, and these spoiled brats are running a church now, and it's honestly a good reflection of our everyday lives, that it's just spoiled children who've never had to suffer or anything, and probably just grew up in church and were I'm just following the family business and go in there. So that's The Righteous Gemstones, and by far, funny show, especially for me, because Danny McBride's the creator of the show. he went to church as a kid, but he didn't know too much. Like, but he's nailing some of this shit. Like, he's nailing it. Some parts, I'm not necessarily saying they did wrong, but there's like things that I want to say that mega pastors usually don't do. And so we're kind of going to get into that more in the episode. Let's go into like the season by season breakdown. So season 1, first of all, we get to meet Baby Billy Freeman, Uncle Baby Billy. And they refer to him as like Uncle Baby Billy instead of just like Uncle Billy, some shit like that. They're like, they all just, and like, it's never like, you know, when they're always mad at him. He's always doing some fucking nonsense. And they were like, damn it, Uncle Baby Billy, what are you doing? And so like, yeah, so it's his estranged brother-in-law. So his wife's brother-in-law, he's estranged and just crazy and shit like that. And yeah, and so you start off with Baby Billy's going to be the head pastor at a church that used to be a Sears, which apparently they filmed it at something that used to be a real Sears, and like they just kept some of the props around to be funny and shit. And so like basically like that, and he's causing shit with other local churches in this area. But the main plot of this entire season is that Jesse and his church buddies and basically his like entourage of church friends, like one's a worship pastor and the other guys are just like friends. A video of them was filmed when they were snorting cocaine, and then there was a hooker there. And like at the beginning of the season, you're like, okay, yeah, cheating on your wife is bad. Maybe you should confess up to it, do the right thing or whatever. But then you learn that everyone in that group, they just did drugs and cocaine mainly, and one guy fucked a prostitute. And I'm like, okay, that's not as bad, you know? It's like, I mean, there's some ethics there. Like, is this church money? What's going on there? You know, there's some ethics there. But overall, I'm like, I don't know. Like, I don't think drugs are, I don't know. You know, I don't think the church congregants would like it, but, you know, I'm like, yeah, just be like, just go for it. Just be like, yeah, I have a cocaine problem. I'm going to go into rehab. You know, it's an easy fix, you know, and be like, especially for Christians, you're like, you know, I have struggles too, and I want to be honest about them. I love cocaine or some shit like that, you know? So like that, you could easily do that. And so these guys get the video of it, and then they try to blackmail them into like a ton of money, and like they don't want to pay the money because they're church people and they like to hoard all the money for themselves. And so it's like that. But you learn, like by the second episode, one of the guys blackmailing them is Jesse's son, estranged son, Gideon. And so, you know, they go have all these back and forths, like mystery, and then, you know, the main guy who really wants the gemstone money, he like, you know, he tries to kill people, and then he eventually gets killed, and drama happens, and yeah, that's basically the season. You know, they kind of, and it's kind of cool because they always end on a happy note, or like I like it when shows like end a season where it's like they don't leave the cliffhanger for next. I hate it when they do a cliffhanger for the next season, you know, because then you have to wait, and then everyone puts in their theories, and like everyone like it builds too much expectations on what they're expecting, you know, unless they've already developed the season or whatever. But yeah, I always like it when shows like they end the season kind of like it could just end here and we could all be good. I always hate it when they like try leading to the next season and then, oh yeah, I didn't get renewed and shit like that. I'm like, God damn it. So they always end it like that. And they always it's weirdly more of a family focused story versus like, let's make fun of church people. And so but they do act like church people. So I end it. The second season, this is like, I think the second season is probably the most interesting to me because they go over the Memphis Mafia or the Dixie Mafia, whatever you want to call it. They go back into Eli's past. So Eli's main story, I guess, is that he used to be a wrestler. I'm probably not professional. It was at an American Legion in Memphis. So I don't know if it was that good, but probably pretty popular around Memphis at the time. And so what happened is that the guy who runs this Dixie Mafia or this mafia ring, he is the head promoter. And then, you know, people make bets on fights. And if you don't, so Eli used to like just fucking break people's hands. He had like this whole signature move to break people's hands. And then, like, if you didn't give her money, like, break your hands. And they say that's Eli's past. And Eli, apparently, you know, in the present day, he's very much like, yeah, you know, I have a past, but, you know, and I met the Amy Lee, and she changed my life, and then I decided to become a pastor and change my whole life around. Standard story. Nothing anyone in the church business would be like. It's everyone has a past, but it's cool you found God in the meantime. Shit like that. So then it's like this murder. So we start getting into like murder mystery type shit, which I love, especially when they do it well. Not like, Justin Hartley. There's this one show you're in, The Seeker, some shit like that, and it's very predictable. So, but like this is good because like you don't know, and you think because like then this Jason Schwartzman plays this guy named Thaniel Block from New York, and he's just an asshole, and then everyone around him in the South is just very friendly to him. Like this is why. This is one plus for the South. The South doesn't always get a lot. So one good thing. That is one nice thing about the South. Assuming racism didn't exist, everyone would just be friendly to. You're just friendly to people. You don't have to be a dick. You say hi. If someone says hi to you, you say hi back. You just acknowledge their existence and be friendly. Don't be a dick. And so that, and then. There's this other, and then he gets murdered, and so they think that Junior, the head guy's son or whatever, of this, he's just around, and so he played by Charles Schwartzman from Suits. If you didn't know who that is, he plays such a good villain too. Like by the way, I hope he gets in a Marvel role or something. He and so like that, and so Thane Block, it's like they find him and like he's murdered, and then they find and then eventually they go back and like the house is being burned down. They think it's Junior who did it, and so that's the crazy thing. So the season develops, and then there's like this dirt bike ninjas, or I think they call it something like that, cycle ninjas, and they try to actually kill Jesse and Amber, and like it was a pretty scary moment. And at one point, Eli gets shot, but he makes a recovery. Don't worry. And so you have that and going on, and eventually, and then, oh yeah, and by the way, Eli Gemstone has no communication skills at all. Like, if, like, when he thought Charles Schwartzman Jr. murdered them, he's like, I don't think we should see each other anymore, Junior. And then it's like, eventually they have to come back together, and it's like, Junior, to be honest with you, I've not been a good friend to you, and I apologize. He's like, oh, okay, that's all it is. I'm like, just men not communicating with each other. And then they're like, oh, I didn't hire the Cycle Ninjas. Those aren't mine. And then you find out that since Jesse and Amber are teaming up with Eric Andre and Lindy, and they're the Listens from Texas, and like they put the hit out on. They have this whole fucking teenage organization of Cycle Ninjas or whatever, and they're trying to put the hit out for the Gemstones, so that way they can make their fucking Christian resort, some bullshit like that. And, that's pretty much season 2. Yeah, it's pretty much season 2. They figure that out. Things get resolved. Oh, yeah, and the Listens end up getting murdered by their own Cycle Ninjas. That's how it is. Third season, I think third season's also very interesting because it focuses on preppers, or, like, people who are assuming the end times are coming soon and they got to be ready, so they're all prepped up for it. And you find out that Eli has a sister, and his sister married Steve Zahn, who is this crazy prepper at this point, and he holds a grudge with the Gemstones because he invested all his life saving into some Y2K stock or whatever like that, and the Gemstones were like, oh, we'll buy it back from you. We obviously thought the times were coming. They probably didn't. They're just trying to scam. And yeah, we need to make this right by the people who did this. So yeah, I'm okay with, we're going to have to take a hit to our bank account, for this. And he was like, no. Then he robbed a bank and got shot in the face and then went to jail. And then he got out, and now he's trying to destroy the Gemstones. And he has 2 kids and stuff like that. Judy has an affair with a guitar player from her tour. He is like in his 40s and has frosted tips. Shit like that. So that's pretty funny. And so you get into that, and, with like prepper doomsday people, like that was pretty fucking interesting. Like to see what they're doing. And it was like a militia too. And so like the FBI was always after them. It was like some pretty interesting stuff. So yeah, that's kind of like what happened in the Righteous Gemstones. It's all the in-between stuff that they like make fun of church people. Is like, ugh, go on a mission trip to Haiti. What are we? I'm just like, I think it's the whole kind of point of the Bible to minister, and you get to be a white savior. So I'm like, isn't that the whole point of all this? Isn't that the reason for the season? But yeah, so yeah, it's an interesting take on megachurches and how these people actually act. And you're like, people don't really act like this? I'm like, yes, they do. And we're watching them behind closed doors, and that's exactly how these people act behind closed door. And I know, and I would know because I've worked in megachurches, I've worked at small churches, I've worked at them all. And they all have the same fucking people. There's always like a guy in there who's like cool for a guy who goes to church, and he's like the social butterfly of the group. You know who I'm talking about. But yeah, and it's definitely I have to tell you this, for people who are like, they did nothing wrong, they're just making fun of Christianity, and I just want to remind you, I think this is what Jesus said in Matthew 19:24, because I have to bring up the Bible so people know I know what it's going on apparently. Again, I tell you, it is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich person to enter the kingdom of God. Remember that for all the C's out there who have anything to say about this isn't real. Like, this is pretty real. They get these characters right. Now, they probably don't cuss as much as they do on the show. Like, they kind of have Danny, it was kind of written with Danny McBride's sailor mouth. But yeah, just want to remind you that. But one thing I will give the show props for, and what all pastors can learn from, and all church leaders can learn from this show, is that in this show, they did a couple sermons here and there, and the sermons were very like, I would always say like inspirational speeches, for the most part, which churches at their best really can be that, just inspirational speeches, but they never preached about the bullshit they did in their life. Like, you didn't hear much about sexual purity. The only one who went on that was Kelvin, and at this point in the show, he's not had any romantic interest at all. So, that's plus they never talk about that sexual sin. They didn't talk about being gay, being bad, and they had a secret gay lifestyle. They didn't really, they practiced what they preached, and that is very interesting. And I think a lot of church leaders are like, they're just calling us. I'm like, no, we are holding you accountable for your actions, because your actions include preaching about how horrible and wrong this is, but then you go off and do it. We're calling you out. We're holding you accountable for your actions. That's all people want. That's a mutual agreement. That should be a mutual thing that all Christians believe in. But no, they're like, we want to protect sex abusers and shit like that, And that's the one thing about this, minus like Judy had an affair and like her siblings were like, this ends right now, They're not like, how do we hide this? What do we do? Like they decided to keep it somewhat hush, but like at the same time, they're like, we're going to stop doing this, which, not a lot of pastors have. But yeah, I think the last thing, what else do I have to talk about? I think there were a lot of penises in the show. Like, you may have saw one or two boobs in the show, but you saw a lot of penises. And I'm only saying this because I am ashamed of myself for how long I looked at them, because I was comparing sizes. And I will be honest, like, honestly, if I wasn't gonna say admitting sizes, I would just say that. But yeah. Overall, though, my last thing I want to say is I have this cool idea for a plot, Danny McBride, and I want you to listen to me. I'm going to tell you this, a cool subplot for the Righteous Gemstones, not like a full long thing, but like a subplot. And that is that there's a Christian pop punk singer in the group, and I will play that character. You do whatever makeup I have to do. I'll shave, I'll lose more weight, I'll do whatever I need to do. And then what I'll do is like, I don't know, be some sort of foil in there. Like, all the kids think I'm cool and whatever, but like Kelvin has beef with me because he's jealous or whatever. And so yeah, because Christian pop punk was a big thing in the early 2000s, and that's really how they got a lot of people in churches, and how they got people interested in, just Jesus in general, was from Christian pop punk music. So yeah, I think it'd be a cool thing to explore, and I'd love to play the part Danny McBride. Please listen to me and try this idea with me, please, and thank you. And yeah, we'll be right back. Thank you for watching this clip.